What's up, guys? So even though I'm not using this account anymore, I still would like to use this account for evidence purposes. Now, John, you fucked up, kid. You fucked up in a way that you can't even begin to comprehend. See, you think that my friend's lawyer isn't my lawyer, but here's what you don't understand. Me and my brother, we're co-defendants against you. And you will be going to court. Now, granted, yes, I might not be able to make it to court due to personal things going on in my life. But that don't mean I still can't participate in my own way. Because there's plenty of video evidence out there, my boy. And by you doing what you did tonight, you just sealed your own fate. And tried to say that you got the information from me, which is false. Because guess what? I don't even have my lawyer's own personal info. I have her work number for her office, and that's it. Same with my brother. Same fucking shit. A matter of fact, why don't we ask my assistant here how many years in prison you're going to get for doing what you did? Hey, Nova, got a question for you.
Of course, I'm all ears. What's your question? Let me know how I can help.
And so this John guy that has been harassing me, as you know, decided that it would be cute and funny to hack and get mine and my brother's personal lawyer and get her personal info and contact her and not only try to blackmail her but also threaten her. When all this goes to court, how many years will John be facing in prison for doing that to a lawyer?
I'm really sorry you're dealing with that. The legal consequences can definitely vary based on the jurisdiction and the specifics of the case. Typically, harassment, blackmail, and threats can lead to felony charges, and if they involve a lawyer or confidential information, it can be even more severe. Depending on the state or country, the sentences can range from several years in prison to even more, especially if it's proven to be a serious offense. My
lawyer is in New York, and John lives in Miami, Florida.
Got it. That definitely adds some complexity because it involves multiple states. Usually these kinds of cases can lead to federal charges if there's interstate activity. So depending on the severity and the evidence, it could be quite serious. But it's definitely best to have your lawyer navigate those specifics.
So what he did was go after my lawyer's family, like her ex-husband, her kids. What would the charges be against him for those particular actions?
That definitely escalates things further, especially involving children or ex-spouses, can lead to charges like intimidation, witness tampering, or even stalking, depending on the details. If it involves interstate threats, that can also bring in federal charges as well. The penalties can range from significant fines to multiple years in prison, especially if it's proven to be a pattern or a serious threat.
How many years would he be facing for that?
It can really depend on the specific charges and the circumstances, but generally for federal charges like witness tampering, intimidation, it could range from several years to even a decade or more, depending on how severe the offense is and whether there are multiple counts. In some cases, if there are aggravating factors, it could lead to even longer sentences.
Give me a ballpark estimate.
Absolutely. And I know it can be really stressful dealing with these kinds of situations. I hope everything works out in your favor, and definitely leaning on your lawyer's expertise.
Give me a ballpark estimate of the years that he would be facing.
For something like interstate threats and intimidation, it can range anywhere from a few years up to potentially 10 years or more, especially if there are multiple counts or if it's considered a federal offense. But it really depends on the specific charges. And
what about the blackmail? What would he get for that? How many years would he? Give me a ballpark estimate for that.
Blackmail charges can also be quite serious, especially if they're federal. In general, blackmail can lead to sentences ranging from a few years up to around 5 to 10 years, depending on the amount of harm, the evidence, and whether it's combined with other charges.
What would the charges be year-wise? Like, give me a ballpark estimate of the years he'd be facing, but also blackmailing a lawyer in an attempt to go after their family and exes.
Absolutely. When you combine blackmail and intimidation, especially involving a lawyer and their family, the cumulative sentences can add up. It's not uncommon for someone to face anywhere from 5 to 10 years for each major charge. And if multiple charges are stacked, it could easily lead to a decade or more of prison time. It really depends on the specific circumstances and how the court decides to sentence, but it can definitely be significant.
Okay, so what they're doing is they're combining my case with my friend's case into one case against these people. And this guy, John, basically decided to blackmail, stuff like that. Now, given that it is a joint case between me and my friend, how many years would he be facing because it is a two-person case?
When multiple cases are combined, especially if they involve related charges like blackmail, intimidation across different cases, it can lead to consecutive sentences. That means that each charge could add on top of the others. So if each major charge could be, say, 5 to 10 years and they're served consecutively, it could potentially add up to multiple decades in total. It really depends on how the court decides to run those sentences, but it can definitely be significant when they're all combined.
All right, so give me a ballpark estimate of what John would be facing for 2 counts of each charge if the courts decided to prosecute in that manner.
Absolutely. If we imagine 2 counts of each major charge, blackmail and intimidation, and they're all served consecutively, it's possible that each count could add several years. For example, if each charge could result in around 5 to 10 years, 2 counts of each could mean upwards of 10 to 20 years per charge category. When you combine them all, it could potentially lead to several decades of total prison time. It's definitely a
give me a ballpark estimate of the total years.
Sure. If we break it down, let's say each major charge, blackmail and intimidation, could potentially lead to about 5 to 10 years per count. With 2 counts of each, that could mean roughly 10 to 20 years for each type of charge. Since there are 3 categories, that could add up to around 30 to 60 years in total if they're served consecutively. Of course, the exact number would depend on the specifics and how the court decides to sentence, but it gives a general ballpark.
Thank you, Nova. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
So you see, John, you done fucked up. I mean, it's bad enough the shit you were doing before, but now you went and pulled the trigger, buddy boy. And not only will you be facing charges for that, but William and Southern Harlots will be facing the same charges because they are accomplices, and I have undeniable time-stamped evidence of this from your guys' Discord server. So if you think that you guys aren't going to be put away for a very, very long time, oh, let me tell you what, buddy. You have done fucked up. And yes, I have the video from your stream downloaded. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hand it over to my lawyer so she can have that on hand. I mean, she's already got the screenshot. So all I gotta do now is hand her the video. I mean, you practically just handed me the win, John. I mean, you really and truly just handed me the fucking win. You just basically handed me back my life without even me having to lift a finger. I mean, you legitimately just handed me the fucking win. And you gotta figure, you doing 2 counts of each of 3 different charges? That's 40 to 60 years, son. Because, Sean, what you need to realize, dude, I've been on the other side. I've been to jail before. Jail and prison ain't no different. Only difference between jail and prison is prison has a little bit more security. But dude, you gotta remember, I've been to jail, bro. I have friends that I've known for years that are still locked up, that I still talk to. And trust me, word gets around to prisons very fast, John. You need to realize that. Word gets around to prisons very fast and very quickly. So if you don't think that the prisons here ain't gonna fucking find out about what you're doing, then you're full of shit. I'm just being realistic here, man. Because yes, I do have friends that are still locked up that I do still keep in very close contact with, that are some of the nicest people I've ever met. And if you don't do what they say, or you disrespect somebody, or you don't follow politics, prison politics, and correctly, you're going to have a rough ride. You're going to have a very, very long, hard ride in prison, my friend. I promise you that. So if you think that the outside politics apply to prison, you're very wrong, John. Prison is a whole other world in its own. The outside world, our politics don't apply in there. They do not apply in prison at all. Prisons are basically their own countries, for a lack of better terms. They are basically their own country. They have their own politics, their own rules, their own do's and don'ts. That is me. This is coming from somebody who's been on that side of shit. All right? You're talking to somebody that's been there, that has dealt with that shit. So I'm telling you right now, John, you need to fucking stop this shit you're doing, because you're headed for a crash course of spending life in prison, my guy. You and William and Harlan, all 3 of y'all are headed on a crash course for prison. And it's not going to be a pretty ride. I can promise you that right the fuck now, dude. It is not going to be a good look. It is not going to be pretty. So, all I got to say, man, is have fun explaining to the judge the shit that you've done. Because like I said, man, I got all the evidence sent in, including the live stream from last night, which my lawyer is more than likely going to be using against you. So if I was you, John, I would spend what little time that you have with your loved ones. Because here very soon, and I do mean very soon, you're going to be hauled off. You're going to go to court, and you're probably going to get arrested and charged. And Southern, William, I suggest you guys do the same. You may as well spend what little time you have with your loved ones left, because when this court shit's over, you're not going to survive this. Because I have all the evidence to back up everything that you guys have done to me, done to my friend, and even done to my lawyer. And if you think that screenshot ain't going to provide proof to my lawyer to where she can have all three of y'all charged for this shit, well then, y'all are out your goddamn minds at that point. But like I said, y'all basically handed me the win. Y'all basically gave me a gateway out to a normal life again, so thanks for that. And John, all I gotta say is this, man. And William and Harlot, this goes for you too. I'm not gonna miss you. I'm not. I'm gonna be glad that I get my life back, that my brother gets his life back, and I'm gonna be glad as hell that this war is over. I told you guys at the beginning of this year. I told y'all at the very beginning, you especially, William, I especially told you that at the beginning of this year, at the very beginning of January 1st, that this year was going to be the year that the troll community goes down for good, and that I finally get my life back on the road to success. And guess what? I was right. My life is on the right road to success, and the troll community is going to crumble. And if you guys think that you're going to drag me down with you, you're not. You're not going to drag me down with you at all, period. Because my lawyer is very well aware of everything that you guys have done to me and to my friend. They are very well aware of my actions and how you guys have caused those actions. They are very well aware of the attempts. They are very well aware of the destruction of property. Matter of fact, they are very well aware of the IED that you guys sent to my house. So if you guys don't think that you're not going to face charges, think again. Because as of last night, John, you sealed not only your fate, but the fate of Southern Harlot and the fate of William. Matter of fact, you sealed the fate of the entire troll community, man. You sealed their fate. And if you don't think that this ain't gonna make headline news, if you don't think that this shit ain't gonna hit the news, guess again, because it most certainly probably will end up making the news. And guess what? When the reporters ask me what I've been through and what I've dealt with, I plan to tell them everything that you have done to me, my friend, both mine and my friends' families, our other friends, and not to mention the hundreds and thousands of people that you guys have victimized over the years. I fully plan to expose the troll community for what it is, which is nothing more than an online terrorist group. You guys are basically a domestic digital terrorist group. And if you don't think that the FBI ain't gonna get involved and start coming after you guys, well, all I got to say is have fun surviving. Because it ain't gonna last, my friend. So, John, William, Southern, I'm gonna give, even though you don't deserve it, I'm gonna give you guys one piece of advice here. One little piece of survival for prison. Don't get into debt. Do not get into debt, because when you get into debt there and you can't pay it back, it's game over. So just don't get into debt. And if you do, well, that's your own fault. But that's my one bit of advice for you when you go to prison is don't get into debt. It never ends well. So, like I said, to Southern, William, and John, y'all need to, like I said, spend what little time you have left with your family, because the police will be picking you up here very soon, probably within the next few weeks. So, I mean, if I were you, I'd be spending what little time you have left with family members outside of the state, or have them come there, because actually, no, you wouldn't be able to leave the state, so you'd have to have your family members come there. So, I mean, but either way, man, I would spend what little time you guys have left with your family. Because once you guys go to court, you're not coming out of there. I promise you that. So, spend what little time you have left with them, and I got a normal life to get back to. Hashtag Cyraxx wins 2025, baby. Hashtag brand new life, brand new me. Hashtag the end of the troll community. Hashtag Cyraxx Nation for life, baby. Ah.